Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody out to the May 19th, 2020 council meeting. Ask everybody we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to welcome Councilman Phillips and Councilman Borman on Zoom and Councilwoman Harris on telephone. And of course, Councilman Corbett and Councilman Nern are here with me today. Good morning to all. Does any member of council have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest with regards to anything on the agenda? If so, please state at this time. Mr. Corbett?
No.
Mr. Nern?
No.
Ms. Harris?
No.
Mr. Phillips?
No.
Mr. Borman?
No.
Thank you, sir. Moving on. Go to the amendment and approval of the draft agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the
I don't have any
amendments
changes.
or anything? Anybody?
No.
Mr. Phillips?
Nope.
Mr. Borman?
Nope.
Ms. Harris?
No.
Good deal.
I move we approve the draft agenda.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Councilwoman Harris?
Aye.
Councilman Phillips?
Aye.
And Councilman Borman?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to our next, to be council discussion. Does anybody have anything they'd like to start with? Mr. Nern, you have anything, sir?
I'd just like to thank our staff who are working under difficult conditions, and everything is getting done. I just don't think you can find a better staff anywhere. Thank you.
You have anything, Mr.
I
Corbett?
have something. I'd just like to remind everybody that the town does provide for leaf and limb pickups. We have a contractor that comes and provides that service. You know, it's pretty simple. You put it in a 30-gallon can, 30-gallon bag, or you bundle it. That means tie it up in 4-foot bundles so that an individual can pick it up. They're not tools that come up and lift these things up, and you leave it in the right-of-way. And if you put it out there and it doesn't get picked up, it means it's not properly bundled. So please do your civic duty, and if you're using this service, bundle up your leaf and limbs properly. Thank you.
Councilman Phillips, you have anything to add? Or
No, sir.
Councilman Borman?
No, thanks. I'm good.
Councilwoman Harris?
No.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next section, we have the public comments for agenda items only. Hiram, do you want to see if anybody's in the back first before I start reading?
Anybody want to make public comment on agenda items? Okay.
All right, no one's in the back. Moving on, I'll be reading now some that citizens have sent in. I'll go through them and try to, the first one doesn't really have a topic other than about the COVID. So I'll begin by reading it. I'll read the name and the addresses of everyone and then read their comments. Rosalie Rockefeller, 242 Clubhouse Road, Sunset Beach. Living in Sunset Beach in a small place is a small piece of heaven, but it has been at times disconcerting to see our town council at work. I sincerely appreciate and applaud the council for the diligence and concern you have shown during this difficult.
Getting feedback.
Get feedback, Jan. Cut your radio down, please. You have shown during this difficult period of the coronavirus. The pressures of many in our town and many of the visitors to ignore the seriousness of this very contagious virus has to have made you wonder why you chose to run for office. Thank you for slowing the process of reopening our community. There are many who applaud your choices to stay firm in that direction. Please continue the concern for health over demand, even though it's difficult for all of us. And it is, no matter what the opinion is, or we do need precaution to be the swing vote. Thank you. I can't. Most of them short, though. I didn't check. Charlie, if you'll do that, but I think all these will be fine.
Got in trouble for that last time.
Okay. Next up is from Mr. Tom Vincent at 422 36th Street in regards to short-term rentals. With the reopening of rental properties just a week away, I have concerns regarding the cleaning and sanitations of these properties. I live on a street that many rentals, both agency and private. For years, I have seen Saturday cleaners being in and out of houses that they are there to clean in an hour or less. I've been convinced that a proper cleanup could not possibly be done in that amount of time. With COVID-19, we are now faced with a whole new and additional cleaning requirement. Has the town been in touch with rental agencies to see how they are going to do the required level of cleaning in the 5 hours they have been between back-to-back rentals? And what about private rentals? Who will ensure these homes are properly cleaned? My concern is that many of the hundreds of rental properties we have on the island are not going to be adequately cleaned and sanitized and are essentially going to become giant Petri dishes, harboring coronavirus and putting both incoming renters and town residents at risk. Do we know anything that we should say not to be a concern? Next up is Richard Hilderman, 407 32nd Street. Since you are considering reopening short-term rentals on May the 22nd, now is the time to develop a protocol to be used to disinfect the houses between uses. There will be at least a 75% occupancy of the houses on the island each week this summer. The cleaning crews must clean all the houses in 4 hours on Saturday mornings. It is difficult for me to comprehend how they will be able to clean then disinfect all the houses in that time frame. That means they need to disinfect the floors, walls, furniture, windows, etc. Plus, even if all the dishes are washed in the dishwasher, people still have to remove them and place them in cabinets. If they have the virus, it could be deposited on dishes, glasses, silverware, etc. I doubt all this could happen in 4 hours in all the houses. This may require rental agencies to hire more people or limit the number of houses rented on a given week. Now is the time for you to consult with experts to ensure safety for the renters and citizens of Sunset Beach. Next up is Kirby Bowers from 524 Great Oak Circle in Sunset. My name is Kirby Bowers. I live at 524 Sunset Beach, Great Oak Circle. I want to briefly comment on the planned discussion regarding the COVID-19 state of emergency schedule for your May 19th meeting. I know you currently intend to allow short-term rentals starting May the 22nd, but suggest you reconsider given what is known about the COVID-19 cases. Although some progress has been made, the deadly virus is still with us, and I see no possible general community upside to opening up the short-term rentals at this time. I understand tourism is important for Sunset Beach and our tourism-related businesses. However, under current circumstances, it is counterproductive and dangerous to the health of the local residents to promote vacation tourism that likely to bring in others from areas with higher COVID penetration rates than our town. It also further strains the limited local resources and grocery store food supply available to permanent residents. Why then introduce additional and unnecessary risks to our local community residents? I know other area beaches have opened and are allowing vacation rentals, but I fear this may lead to a new flare-up we will soon regret. In my view, continuing to restrict short-term vacation rentals until we have more significance and positive evidence of the successful COVID-19 mitigation seems appropriate and reasonable to further protect the health and safety of our local residents. I agree with opening the beach and public parking for local area residents and property owners to enjoy. However, vacation rentals, at least at this time being introduced, may bring much more risk and seems premature. Thank you for your opportunity, and I appreciate your dedication and service to the town. That was all on the short term. Now moving on, it'll be to the one-way. These are in reference to the one-way walkways. Barbara Morrell, 414 36th Street. I own a home on the island, and I would like to make a couple of suggestions regarding the reopening of Sunset Beach. I would feel much safer about shopping in our local stores if patrons and staff were required to wear a mask. I strongly believe we should require a mask for indoor public spaces. I also think we need to bring back the one-way walkway at the beach. Having even number streets designated as entrance and odd numbers as exits will keep people from going back and forth in front of each other and keep from getting so close. 40th Street could be set aside for entrance for bicycles, handicaps, and dog walkers before 8 a.m. It makes no sense to do away with the one-way walkways just as we're reopening. Now is the time when we need them most. Social distances is doable once we are at the beach, but getting to and from the beach is an issue. Thank you. Next up is Angela, I think it's Kachuba, Kachuba at 1207 East Main Street. I request the do not enter signs at the walkway be put back in place at the appropriate beach walkways in order to social distance. The signs are necessary for narrow walkways, and one-way directions are in line with the governor's executive order in April. Next up will be Mary and Michael Loins, 1210 Riverside Drive. Please return the one-way signs at the beach accesses so we may practice proper social distancing. Okay, that's all of that. Moving to the next ones. All these are to do with airboats. Okay, this first one is from Anita August from 590 Coach Trail. We don't want to be another Myrtle Beach. That's the mantra that I've heard since moving here 17 years ago. Now we battle yet another threat to our placid waterfront community, airboats. These boats generate such excessive and unnecessary noise as they wind through the water that the operator and all the passengers on airboat have to wear ear protections. However, the residents and the beach vacationers wear no such protection, nor should they have to. In areas where airboats are permitted, there are not even noise complaints from people 2 or 3 miles away from where the boat is operating. In areas where the airboats are permitted, there are even noise complaints from people 2 to 3 miles away from where the boats are operating. Our quiet local waterways with treasured local wildlife and homes lining the ICW are not the place for these large, noisy boats. We need to manage the noise and the volume of the water traffic now and going forward so that we may all continue to enjoy our small pocket of paradise. Sunset Beach is not the place for these airboats. There is no need to ponder to the special interests of a few and the expense of many. That was it for her. Next up is Leslie Bowers, 524 Great Oak Circle. My name is Leslie Bowers. I live at 524 Great Oak Circle, Sunset Beach. I would like to comment on the airboat noise item that is on the May 19th Town Council agenda. Our neighborhood is about 2 streets back from where the airboat is docked along the intercoastal waterway. Though we can hear some boats and jet skis from our home, the airboat is definitely the loudest motorized boat we have heard and for the longest time, though the noise was from thought to be the noise from a low flying plane. When I saw the boat, my first reaction was, this boat is something out of the Florida Everglades, which would be appropriate for those waterways there. I understand the town may be able to regulate the time of day the boat is operating, or possibly lower the RPMs and other regulations that I believe would be an improvement. Your consideration of the reviewing the issue and appropriate regulations you may adopt are greatly appreciated. Thank you. This next one is from Diane and Jim Filler from 217 West Canal Street. We're in support of airboat regulations to better serve our community and that which is enforceable. We have experienced the high decibel noise from our home, which is disruptive, disturbing, and near deafening. We support putting limitations on sound, speed, and time of day usage. We also request that new regulations be enforced and that the regulations are able to be lifted in state of emergency, such as a hurricane or other rescue operations. Randolph and Sylvia Breschen, Shoreline Drive East. Okay, it says, members of the Sunset Beach Town Council, I'm a resident of Sunset Beach and own on Shoreline Drive East near the owner of the airboat. I moved to Sunset Beach to enjoy the life living on the waterway in a quiet small town. The waterway and canals are well suited for recreational equipment such as kayaking, small boats, and jet skis, but not for airboats. In addition, the noise is extremely problematic, especially in quiet residential areas. I ask that the town council review the airboats in our town. I would prefer to see airboats banned since I do not believe that they were appropriate for the use in the waterway. Thank you for your considerations. Next one is Carol Scott, Peter and Carol Scott. Whatever can be done to legally ban airboats in Sunset Beach waterway should be done. We have been subject to the boat in question at midnight several times, making an unbelievable amount of noise. Next one is from Karen Joseph, Sandpiper Bay. Mayor and council, I encourage you to follow the lead of South Carolina and ban airboats from Sunset Beach waters. For my limited investigation, I have learned that these boats were involved in 75 accidents over the last 3-year period in Florida, with 7 deaths and more than 100 injuries. In addition, the noise of the boat produce 80 to 100 plus decibels, is more likely to damage hearing over time. Thank you. And last up is from Mr. Bill Warren, 709 Waterway Drive, Sunset. Please ban the airboats from Sunset Beach. Way too loud at all hours of the night and day and night. I have heard that the entire state of South Carolina has done this, and we should do the same. Thank you for considering this matter. That concludes all the public comments. There is no one in the back that has any. So with that being said, we'll move on. Our next up is our minutes for approval from our March 23, 2020 special meeting minutes, our April 21st, 2020 second regular meeting minutes, and our May the 4th, 2020 first regular meeting minutes. Do I have any updates, changes, questions on those?
I do not have any.
Mr. Nern? Councilman Phillips? Councilman Borman?
No, no changes.
Councilwoman Harris?
No.
Okay, thank you. Moving on.
Wait a minute. I move we accept all of the minutes for approval.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Councilman Corbett?
Aye.
Councilman Nern?
Aye.
Councilwoman Harris?
Aye.
Councilman Phillips?
Aye.
And Councilman Borman?
Aye.
All right, moving on to our old business. First up will be our COVID-19 state of emergency discussion and action. The floor is open up. Would anybody like to start? Any comments, suggestions, questions? Anything we need to look into? Councilman Nern, you got something?
Weren't there other minutes?
We just read 3. We went through them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Councilman Phillips, do you have anything in the COVID-19? Go ahead.
I'll just say that I think we have a good plan in place for the reopening of the beach at this time. I think, it was certainly a busy weekend last weekend. Again, we're going to be faced with that throughout the rest of the summer. So at this point, I'm in favor of not adjusting anything.
Councilman Borman?
Yeah, I have a couple of things I'd like to say. I have been watching the trending, and certainly when you look at Brunswick County, anyway, the number of positives is going up. But if you look at it as a percentage of the total number tested, the percent positive is actually it's actually dropping a little bit. Though the last couple of days it has trended up again. I hope that's not a trend that continues. Certainly last weekend, especially Saturday, was exceptionally busy. I mean, when you looked at the parking situation, when you looked at the people on the beach, and from what I had seen, and I didn't walk the whole beach, but I did look down on the beach and I didn't see anyone wearing masks. I think we need to reinforce with people, and I'm not sure how to do it, but the social distancing certainly has to be reinforced. There were groups that were not social distancing, and don't know that they weren't families together or not, but there were certainly some groups that I think were not family oriented, and they look like groups of friends. I think that we need to reinforce it through the beach patrol. If they see something like that, uh, that we need to reinforce it. I don't know if the signage should be broadcasting it better, but that's going to be a key, I think, to it being successful. Um, the residents that had pointed out the walkways, the one-way walkways, I still think that was a useful thing to do. I would go along with reinstating that, with the signage. I mean, to help people understand which way is which. Um, but certainly, if you're using those walkways, um, when you've got it going both ways, there's really no way to stay 6 feet apart. So I would be in favor of us having the one ways reinstituted. One note about the walkways, as time permits, I think some of the dunes have actually taken over the walkways. So as time permits, maybe some of those could be cleared off a little bit. Um, the people that had brought up the concern about renting and cleaning, don't know if there's been any contact with the rental agencies to see if they're trying at least to institute some better cleaning direction, whether the use of disinfectants. I agree that to completely disinfect someplace is not going to be possible. I just think that that's something that will have to be lived with, and the result's going to be that the people that are staying in the rentals will go into the stores, and if they're infected, they will unknowingly bring the virus with them. They likely won't show any symptoms themselves until they leave. So it's more about how it's going to increase the virus load to our public here in the stores and things like that. I don't know if we can mandate the use of masks. Someone had suggested that, and I don't know if we can mandate a private business to institute a mask wearing policy, but we could certainly suggest it to them, that that'd be a good thing to do. Some stores that I've been into, the workers there are all wearing masks. Some others, very few wearing masks. Um, so I think it would be a good idea if we at least try and clue the stores into the fact that the virus load is likely going to increase, and that it would be a good idea to have a mask wearing policy. So the only thing I think that we need to change is the one way on the walkways. The rest of them, I think, are suggestions. I don't know it's something that we can enforce, but certainly it's a concern.
Thank you, sir.
That's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Harris?
I agree that we need to keep the walkways one way. I think that's the best way to maintain social distancing. I too am very concerned about our guests that will be coming in this summer and how the houses are cleaned in between groups that come in weekly or 2 weeks at a time. I guess my question is, have we heard from the rental agencies, or have they been instructed by health departments on COVID-19 cleaning purposes?
Yes, ma'am, they have been contacted.
Okay.
By who?
And do they make those available to their customers? Do they?
I'm not
Do they-
sure about that, but Councilman Nern has reached out to him.
I,
I'll
Okay.
let him say, he's got a couple things to say right quick, and then we'll get back to you, Miss Jen. Go ahead,
No,
John.
no, I'm finished.
Okay, okay.
uh,
Thank you, Jen.
I reached out to my rental property managers, which is Sunset Properties. They are following all CDC cleaning protocol. They are all beds, the mattress pads and the pillow covers are being sprayed between each guest. All light switches, handles, kitchen handle doors, refrigerator door, all those high touch areas are also being disinfected. And my daughter and grandchildren are coming in by about 2 weeks, and I want to make sure that it's clean when they get here. I believe it will be. I did not speak to Sunset Vacations or Sloan, but I would hope to think that they are following the same regulations. And to add to the walkway discussion, I have a hard time approving something that can't be enforced. We don't have enough police officers. We don't have enough beach patrol. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Corbett?
I have a list of topics, most of them have been mentioned here, that I think we should just talk a little bit to make sure that we are properly grounded on where we can go. Starting with the one-way access ways. If we did decide to redo the one-way access ways, I think we need to rethink a little bit which ones and how we mark the handicap and ADA. Enforcement is a big problem, and if one of your handicap/ADA walkways is the main walkway by the Ocean Ridge and Kingfish Bay parking lot, then it's going to be ignored, and it was, and we have no way to enforce that. And it's really not conceivable that we organize citizen groups of volunteers to stand at the ends of each one of the walkways to help people recognize that they're going the wrong way or not. So I would want to ask DPW, based on the last experience, are there changes that you think could be made, such as bigger, more substantial signs, so that the many people who say, "Oh, I didn't see that, do not enter" sign, just can be easily shown to be that they are wrong, and to be substantial enough that they perhaps put on a piece of wood big enough and screwed into the side there so they don't blow away or get easily removed. I mean, we've got a major weekend coming up. If we did decide to do something, I think we need to take steps that make it easier for everybody to clearly understand what the rules are and make it obvious when they are disregarding those rules, as many people did when we had the one-way thing. I spent about an hour on the beach walking up and down each day, and in any one day, I easily had 5 or 6 examples of people that were just clearly not paying attention to the one-way signs. So if we're going to do it, I know that the beach patrol really can't enforce it. I know our police cannot enforce it. It's going to be up to the people themselves to follow it and enforce it. What we can do is we have clear signage, if that's what we want to do. And if we wanted to do that, I would say we want to have that signage put up by Thursday before the weekend begins. So you know, what is the impact, the feasibility, the reality check?
We can do our own signs printed on 8.5 by 11, but we're not going to get the size that you want, and we won't be able to order signs and have them made before this weekend for how many walkways, Dustin? 33 walkways. And then you got signs on both sides of that, so 66 signs.
Yep.
I don't think it's economically feasible. I mean, I don't have a problem posting signs, putting them in plastic, breaking off pieces of wood and drilling them to it, but it's not going to be.
Well, that would be an improvement over the floppy signs that were there, last time. Dustin, what do you're the one who's going to be stuck with doing this. What's your reality check?
Some of the problem is, like on the on the Main Street side, you had the flat ones. So there's nothing really to attach it to except for we used a picket, or we tacked it to that and put it there beside the walkway. Now on the beach side, where we had a handrail or anything like that, we attached it to the handrail itself and tacked it in like that to show. But the ones that on Main Street side is a little bit more difficult because there's nothing there to nail to on some of them. Except for doing that, except for put a post in and tagging it to that.
So if you drove a post, we double signage. We're looking at 99 signs. You posted.
Well, I still have the signs from last time. We've kept them.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to post them. We have to check them.
Right.
We can do all that by Thursday afternoon.
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah, I can get it done.
It's up to y'all. I mean, we're not going to be able. I mean, I'm not trying to broadcast out there. The cops will not be able to enforce this because unless they're driving by to see somebody, and then y'all need to decide if this is really worthy of a Class 2 misdemeanor to be walking down the wrong way on a walkway.
Well, we're not
That's
going to be
what
able to
we're
do
looking
that. I mean, we have been bombarded since this state of emergency began with statements saying our citizens are socially responsible and can behave themselves and follow the rules. And normally I would say 95% of them do that. I dropped that down to about 80% now during this experience. There's been a tremendous amount of just total disregard because it's inconvenient to move one further block down, one further access way down, or even the way where we have no signs now for people to recognize that somebody's at the other end walking through and stay off the walkway until they get there. So, the social responsibility thing is a big thing. My sense is I would like to see the signs go back up there. I would like to perhaps have some discussion and examination of which signs, which access ways we have going. Like the 3rd Street sign by the Ocean Ridge, is a
handicap.
Is a handicap but that's also everybody that parks in Ocean Ridge, Kingfish Bay, and many of the Sea Trail folks that park in their lot walk straight down First Street. I'm talking First Street, actually, the First Street walkway. And just use that. And you had that as an ADA, and we shouldn't mark something in such a way if we kind of know at the beginning. Another suggestion that came up was because of the congestion at the gazebo, was to keep the gazebo walkway one direction and have the emergency access lane the exit direction. But that makes it very difficult for those many people who are hauling wagons and carriages and wheelchairs and stuff like that down on the gazebo. They still have to be able to come back.
Yeah, plus if you have the emergency group trying to get through there also, we have a pile of people come through there.
Yeah. So I really don't think that's a good idea. But the gazebo is a good example. If everybody stay on the right, that's well more than enough to get good social distancing while you walk to or from the beach.
Yeah, it's about 8 foot wide.
Yeah, rather than having 6 people in a gaggle try to all go one way at the same time, which happens. So I think it's going to be a challenge and a big resort. We can put the signs up, but the people who come are the ones that have to pay attention. And the people and citizens who are on the beach, when they see somebody else going the wrong way, need to speak up and tell them, and put some social pressure on everybody. That's just a one-way issue. We have other, I think we need to talk through several of these other issues.
Y'all want to do issue by issue so we can get a consensus on each issue? So
So we can be clear.
yeah, so we don't come back to it and forget what we discussed.
That's perfectly fine if that's what the council wants to do.
So
I don't have a problem with that. Just, if you know, with that being said, from what we've heard, I guess we would need to, on the walkway situation, we need to have a motion. If that's what we want to go with, putting the walkways back up so we can get Dustin on the move for that. And I guess everybody, Councilwoman Harris, you was able to hear good. I guess everybody that talked, was you able to hear good?
Yes.
Councilman Borman, Councilman Phillips, were both of y'all able to hear everything plain as you needed to, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That being said, then do I have a motion that we will be putting up some kind of walkway exits, entrance signs? Of course, it all comes down to people using their own brains. I mean, it's up to everybody. You know, this thing, the mask wearing, the way you cross people, it's about like having a speeding sign in town. That's your choice. You're going to choose that. We just hope that you choose to do the right thing, that you think of your fellow humans. And with that being said, do I have a motion?
I move we make the walkways, we put up one-way signs, access ways and exit ways on the walkways.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't think it's going to work, but I'm going to vote aye and hope that it will.
Councilwoman Harris?
Aye.
Councilman Borman?
Aye.
Councilman Phillips?
Aye.
And with that being said, Dustin, what we talked about here, about especially like the walkway right there at the gazebo, can you really look into that and the other ones that you think, and just use your best judgment? What do you think will help the town in whole, doing the best we can with it, okay, sir? Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, like 40th Street is not a good one to make one way.
well,
I mean, but that's,
if I can interject real
Yeah.
quick.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Any of our ADA accessible routes should be both ways. And I understand pedestrians are going to use it too, but you know, I know we didn't include that in this motion this time, but you know, last time we left the ADA alone. I say incorporate it, because we only have 3.
Yeah.
Well, technically 4 if you count the gazebo, but we don't have enough to spread the distance out, and everybody's going to use them to pull their carts down anyway.
yeah, and bicycles.
And bicycles. So let's go ahead and make those dual directions for ADA accessibility. Everybody else has to one-way it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Agree.
So the ADA will be included on this, just as our administrator just talked.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
I'm
Councilman
fine.
Borman? Councilwoman Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Borman? Mr. Phillips?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I know
Yes.
you are, Mr. Corbett. Okay, thank you.
So
Mr.
just
Corbett,
real quick, sorry, just to be clear, so we can explain it for those watching. Our intention now when we make these signs are, let's take 40th Street as an example. It'll be one way for pedestrian access, both ways for ADA access. So they could enter by 40th, come back on 39th, or vice versa. I don't know how the numbering is going to work. But when it comes, I know people with bicycles and everything are going to still come back that way, but officially, ADA access is the 2-way. We're still going to have it listed, hopefully, from one-way pedestrian.
Correct. Thanks, sir. Mr.
Okay,
Corbett, you want to address some of the others? I know you
Yeah,
stopped at
the
that,
other
so
one we
address
had
that.
was, people were talking about mask, face mask. And one of the basic questions I have is, what authority do we have to legislate that people have to wear a face mask inside a store or at any particular locations? I'm not sure, can we tell the businesses to have their staff wear face mask and only let people in with their face mask, or can we just encourage people to do that?
I know we could encourage. It's going to be a Grady question whether we can require them to do that in their businesses. I think it's possible. I don't think it's advisable, but I think it's possible. The encouragement of wearing masks are great. I know we can do it for our facilities that we can control. That's why I think it's possible to do it as a town-wide thing. We can't pick and choose. It'd be all or nothing. But like I said, again, that's going to be a Attorney Richardson question, and we can ask that and get back to y'all on the first for that one. I know that doesn't help us at this point, but the encouragement of them, we've been encouraging masks, as you're supposed to for indoor activities. I mean, I've got mine for when we're in multiple offices with each other, people, cloth coverings, whatever's necessary. We've been getting a lot of people wanting us to do it on the beach. That's not really advisable in my opinion, especially when we start getting to the 90-degree, 100-degree days and people are sitting there heaving in masks. We're going to have heat strokes and all that. It's not conducive to actually a healthy environment. Walking down the walkways is where people are having the problems with it. You make those one way, I don't think requiring a mask in that situation would be needed anymore. But when it comes to requiring private businesses, like I said, that's going to be a Grady question. And again, you know, it's how far do we want to go with this? You want to make everybody wear masks, we're not going to be able to enforce it. And then are we going to be arresting people and giving them class 2 misdemeanors for not wearing a mask?
Well, that becomes the second part of the question is, you know, one of them is do we have the authority to do so? And then the other, is it something that we can enforce? And my view is, given the size of our police force and the spread of our community, particularly as we open up to the short-term rentals, that it's impossible to do that. So my view is it is something that we should encourage, but we shouldn't try to take legislative action. That's all I have to say on masks right now. Well, the other one is I asked our beach patrol and our police department at times are the ones who come in close contact with our citizens, and so my concern is I think that our beach patrol and our police department should have available cloth coverings or masks, so that when it appears that they are going to close in within 6 feet of a citizen to discuss whatever the situation is that they're trying to handle, that they ought to have a face mask that they can put on, so they don't be put in, so our staff do not get put into a compromised position.
And if I can interject real quick, we had that conversation yesterday, and I had that conversation with the chiefs. I told them both, make sure their guys do have cloth coverings available for when a citizen does invade their 6-foot space. But when they're acting in official capacity, they've got official PPE to wear. But I don't want them wearing official PPE since it's hard to come by for those kind of things. So I have instructed them to just have people bring cloth masks from home or some type of cloth covering. Again, you know, if it's not readily available and some random citizen comes running up to them, or if they see an emergency and they've got to grab their regular stuff, that's fine. But they've been encouraged to cover their mouths when dealing with the general public as much as possible, to lead by example. But I don't feel comfortable wasting valuable PPE on basically PR. So I've tried to get them to bring their own cloth masks to work with them.
And I think that would work. The concern is just we want to make sure that we're protecting our people,
Right.
our staff that are out there. The rental properties, you know, my own view is I don't think we have the authority to dictate to them the terms that they use for cleaning. Guidance comes down from CDC and every other organization below that. I really think the responsibility is for the property owners whose properties are being rented to directly contact the agency that is doing their rental and making sure that they are taking care of the cleaning properly. I don't think that that's a place that the town has the authority to do that, much less the ability to enforce or make sure that it happens. But the people who have the leverage are the property owners whose properties are being managed, and the management companies then have the responsibility to do the cleaning, as Councilman Nern pointed out. in his discussion with one of the companies. Yeah, so, I don't think we need to do anything more than strongly urge the rental companies to make sure there's a good cleaning protocol.
Anything else, sir?
Okay.
Y'all
Sure.
want to, I'm sorry, real quick,
Just,
going back to resolution of the discussion.
I mean, like I said, I just don't see that we're gonna be able to pull any kind of vote to actually make them do that. But maybe we could just suggest if someone from the town could reach out to some of the businesses, whether it's the rentals there, blast it on our thing, as much as possible. Like I said, it all comes back to the person. I mean, we just have to, hope that they all wanna try to comply to keep our town. But at the end of the day, we want that 0 number that we've had last 2 weeks ago to be 0 at the end of this thing. So, I mean, if we can reach out some way through the staff, through a blast out, whatever, to our homeowners, anything that we can do to try to, ask them to do it, and I think a lot of them would comply. But as far as making them do it, I don't think we could do that.
Well, beyond that, I mean, it's in their best interest to do it. I mean,
Most
they
definitely. It
they don't
protects all
want
the way
to
around.
harm
Yeah.
their customers either. And again, for us, it does come down to enforcement. Would we be entering the houses to do inspections? There's no time on a Saturday swap out of all those rental properties, that kind of thing. So what we can do as a town and what we should do as a town should be feasible and enforceable. Everything else should be an encouragement. And we're doing that on a daily basis when we talk to people regardless.
Just common courtesy. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it comes down to.
So Hiram, does that mean that we have contacted all the rental agencies and said, please follow the CDC guidance and the Department of Health guidance as far as cleaning goes?
No, we have not. I honestly don't see it as our place to do buyer beware. But as they've called us and asked questions, I've talked to 3 agencies or 3 rental people. One was an agency, 2 were private homeowners, and I encouraged them to follow CDC guidelines, and they both confirmed that they did were following CDC guidelines or prepared to follow CDC guidelines. I say did because we also have accommodation taxes coming in from the period when everything was supposed to be prohibited. So we know rentals did happen, and I've had one person at least confirm that they were cleaning. So we'll also probably need to discuss if we should retroactively charge all these people with violations or not. But that's a different story. But regardless, every time that we are talking to people, I'm encouraging citizens to wear masks. I'm encouraging people to social distance. I'm encouraging businesses to maintain disinfection. And I believe the staff's doing the same thing when they talk to people.
Okay.
My next category for discussion is we had last week Holden Beach, there was a report that they had a bacteria problem on the beach. We do not have our bathrooms out. So Hiram, could you explain what the inspection protocol is for the quality of the water on our beaches? And talk a little bit about the situation of why it is we don't have the bathrooms back on the beach as a busy Memorial Day weekend is coming up.
Well, for starters, DEQ, I believe it's Marine Fisheries, comes out and checks at 3 of our accesses along our beachway. They do it from 40th Street, they do it at the gazebo, and they do it all the way towards the east end. I can't remember which access. And from their reports, they do it basically Mondays or Tuesdays. They'll come in, check, scoop the water, go back, lab test it, test it for bacteria. The problem with Holden Beach, not to speak outside my wheelhouse, is one day it tested really, really high, the next day it tested back normal. So it was either an abnormality or it was something flushed in, flushed out. And we had every community on the coast had higher elevations. If you look back at the reports last year in December, January, for whatever reason, no reason given. Could it be people using the restroom in the ocean? Maybe, I doubt it. But so that's how they test the water. That's when they get a report. They'll notify us immediately if there's a problem and do a no swim order notice to us, which we would post immediately. The reason the restrooms aren't out there is we just do not have the capability to keep clean, and maintain a supply level after cleaning them to maintain a healthy and secure environment. And personally, from my own personal experience is I don't prefer public restrooms in the first place, but I sure know that there would be you watch someone come out of there during this pandemic. Are you want to go in immediately afterwards, or are you going to demand call the town hall and say, I need this restroom cleaned, someone just used it? And we're going to have a lot of complaints one way or the other, whether we have them out there. People are going to complain that they're not clean enough because they already do that generally in the first place. The number of complaints we get about the bathrooms not being clean at any given day in the summer, and you could fill up a logbook. But we're going to get complaints that they're not out there. I would rather err on the side of caution and safety and say, you're coming to the beach, you already swim at your own risk, you can go home and use the restroom, come back if you have to. If you do want us to have restrooms available, I would recommend that we contract a porta-john company to set some up and they'll be responsible for the cleaning, the supplying of the materials, and not us. I mean, I know, it's swim at your own risk, use the restroom at your own risk. If that's the case, then I would think we don't need to clean the restrooms regularly, which I think is also a bad idea. But I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to it where it's just, in my opinion, healthier not to have them out there. And then you get into the vandalism factor. Toilet paper is not on the shelf anywhere that I've been going to. It's going to get stolen every time we put it in there. I know some places have actually encouraged people to bring their own toilet paper to go use the restrooms, bring their own hand sanitizer. I've got no qualms with that. We just wouldn't stock the restrooms. But then keeping them clean is still just it's an ordeal. Now I've been working with the COG. They may get some relief money from FEMA to do additional labor services for areas like they do after hurricanes sometimes. We did talk about this in a meeting yesterday about possibly using them for janitorial services, but still we wouldn't be able to keep someone out there, basically a concierge service. Someone uses the restroom, they go in there and clean it. Next person uses the restroom, they go in there and clean it. It's not feasible. Cleaning every hour is not feasible. Again, you've got the materials. The approved cleaning products are all flying off the shelves in the first place. And while we've got some, we need to use it for actual emergencies and not daily, hourly functions. So that's why I haven't put the restrooms back out there. Now, we'll do whatever y'all want us to do. But my recommendation is if we do need restrooms out there, let us contact a porta-john company and then require people to bring their own products with them.
How long would it take you to get in touch? I mean, I know you can call them today, but what do you think would be feasible if we did reach out for porta-johns, getting some out? You think we'd have a problem getting some out there by the weekend?
It's usually at least a 2-day turnaround for most of them. And that's assuming they're not in high demand right now. I don't know who else might be contacting, who else might be using, so I know parks are probably using them instead of using their own facilities. So we can find someone that has a supply that can bring us a couple. I think possibly by Friday, but I wouldn't guarantee it right here today without calling around.
But it's something we could definitely look in and get an answer within a day on.
Oh yeah, I could probably have an answer by the end of the day today on whether we can have it done or not, but.
Well, it's definitely a council decision that y'all want to send, but I mean, a lot of people have asked me about this, about the restroom deals. I've had many suggestions. Some even say just put one in, that. And my deal, the whole thing is going back to being able to stock it, clean it. I mean, it would be a germ cesspool. There's no doubt about that. And, if we did decide to go with the porta-johns, it would be up to the person. I mean, it's a decision you're going to make. I mean, because we would not be able to clean them. And they're going to come out and clean them, I guess, daily, but.
I think weekly.
Is it weekly?
Most of them contracts weekly.
If weekly, that's a whole different thing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's still just going to be a choice that individual person makes. But, whatever, the council needs to just decide something. If we need to reach out, let's at least reach out if that's what y'all want to do. If not, then, I guess we'll just keep them off for right now. I mean, it's just not, especially with us. I know we just spent a bunch of money buying that new one. I wouldn't want to put it out there and get it tore up right here off the get-go and take a chance. I mean, if we put one back in, I would say put the old one back in for right now.
And the vandalism to the actual structure happens regardless.
Yeah.
I'm talking about actual vandalism of cleaning products, toiletries, anything like that.
Yes, sir.
I don't think we have a good or easy answer to the mask or the porta-john. putting our own bathrooms out there. You know, I cut that class on worldwide pandemics, so I don't know anything about it. Just try and use our best judgment. Again, I would be willing to try porta johns. You probably have to get 3, 2 for the women and 1 for the men. Their lines are always longer. That's all I have.
Councilwoman Harris, you have anything to add or anything to question?
I like the idea of the porta johns.
Okay.
That way the person can choose whether or not they want to.
Councilman Borman? I'm sorry, Jane, you got anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Borman?
From a liability standpoint, I think that was one of Hiram's concerns. And to me, it's not really any different than the risk that they have in swimming. So as long as you make it clear that it's use at your own risk, I don't see a reason why we shouldn't use our own. What I don't have an answer for is the supply issue. And for that reason, I think that the Porta-John route may be a better route to go. I don't know that there'll be any better supplied than we would be. But if there's a complaint about it, it goes to the Porta-John people and not to us, I presume. Although they probably complain to us anyway, right? But so I would go for the Porta-John. I don't have a clue what those things would cost, and assume it would come out of the accommodations tax.
It would.
Okay.
Councilman Phillips, you have anything to add or questions or anything?
At this point, I think I would go with the adventure potties over putting the actual physical structures back out.
That being said,
I'm sorry. I was gonna. How do y'all feel about encouraging people to bring their own supplies with them?
I think they should be notified to bring their own supplies. If they want to clean it before they use it, bring their cleaning supplies, and definitely bring their own toilet paper. But we have to get that word out pretty quick.
Well, we were going to blast out today anyway on the email. I've got some flyers I downloaded from the state about 3 Ws, signs, symptoms, all that. I was going to attach that. We can easily attach on there recommended. And I was also going to put out there, bring your own supplies when you're renting, but we can also say public facilities not stocked, bring, as a precaution, or limited stock public facilities as a precaution, bring your own toiletries.
And that'll go on our website too.
That'll go on the website and be blasted out.
do you have anything else to add, Councilman?
I'll go with the porta potties as a not too good solution, and I definitely agree. Don't put our big restrooms back out on the beach at this point in time. That might help a little bit. Now, we're just going to put these in at the gazebo.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the only place we already supplied restrooms at.
Look at going in with 3.
I'm going to try to.
3 or 4, whatever.
I just asked
figure out.
Cindy to go look for a ADA accessible and 2 others.
Okay, that sounds fair.
What about the park, Hiram?
I was getting ready to say, as far as the park's concerned, I wouldn't mind getting the Porta-John for there as well.
Let's go ahead.
Same principle.
Yeah. One should be sufficient.
One should be
there.
sufficient, unless, of course, the other thing we need to talk about is special events again. If we're going to activate special events, then you're going to need a lot more than just one.
But that's not coming up till June the 1st. Remember, we've already marked.
I know, but I'm going to bring that up at the end of your conversation.
Okay.
Why we need to at least have something else discussed before June the 1st.
Okay.
So.
With that being said, then we'll need a motion that we'll be bringing in some porta johns for our beach access at the gazebo. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Councilman?
Aye.
Councilman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Harris?
Aye.
Councilman Phillips,
Aye.
and Councilman Borman.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Almost done.
Anything else, sir?
You know, one of the things, when we reopened as part of this state of emergency, we reopened parking. Uh, You know, we still have lots of violations, and the police department is doing a good job responding to those and ticketing where possible. Um, And I support that. I strongly endorse enforcement of the rules that we have. Question I have is, in our parking, does North Carolina, or do we have a rule that your parking should be in the direction of the traffic? So rather than going across the road and parking facing the traffic, because we're still getting a lot of cars that are going out there parking the wrong way.
I believe under, I think it's 72.11 for parallel parking, it says that it has to be parked on the roadside with the direction of travel. So yes, if a vehicle is heading down Main Street, sees a spot on the other side and just pulls straight in, they're in violation of the parallel
Okay.
parking ordinance.
And are we ticketing those too?
We should be, yes.
Okay, that's,
Chief, can you just have your sergeants make sure they rebrush policy before this weekend with their people?
Yes.
yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, the same goes for golf carts, right? Because they're considered to be licensed vehicles.
They're supposed to be if they're traveling on a state road,
Yes, sir.
Right.
which Main Street is a state road.
Right.
All right. You got anything else, sir?
What's the plan for town hall?
Revisit June the 1st.
Reopening?
Discussing that with several other managers in the area as well yesterday. Everybody's trying to keep the public out for as long as possible. I shouldn't say everybody. The majority of us are talking about keeping the public out for as long as possible, largely for the safety of the public and the safety of our employees. Our lobbies are not large enough to stack more than 2 people 6 feet apart, except the main lobby can get 4 people in there unless someone needs to go to the restroom. Again, we have the problems of people coming into the town hall to use the public restroom. The same ordeal there. My plan, since we have some employees telecommuting and others working that can, as June 1st, I was going to bring staff back 3 days a week that are telecommuting, unless you want to open to the public. If you're open to the public, we'll be back for good. My recommendation would be limited hours. We already meet with people if they need us to, either at their job site or business or whatever. I've had parking lot meetings with a few people. So we're still available as it is. So my recommendation is for as long as we can, we don't take utility bills. The online payments are working out just fine. The only reason that anyone's wanted to come in and talk to us about is to complain to us about the situation of the beach being closed and things like that, that I've heard about from people wanting to come in. We're resolving the issue with trying to get yard sale permits out. We worked on the beach share process. So we've got it pretty refined where for what we need to do, we can still do it with the doors closed. But like I said, I'm going to bring staff back to get them back used to working in town and be available for in-call meetings with people out in the parking lot, not inside the building during that period while we're still closed to the public. That's my plan moving forward. Now, like I said, if y'all want to change my plan, we'll do what you want us to do. When that happens, I will be requiring the public to come into the town hall with a mask. If they don't, they're not allowed in. And until we have the supply chain to provide them, I won't be providing them like some other governments are. I'm looking into that. We don't have the hand sanitizer supply to keep people pumping them when they come in the doors or not. We're looking into that. But I will be requiring staff to wear masks when they're walking around the common areas, or some type of cloth covering when they're walking around the common areas and when they're in office space with each other. Social distancing in our small town hall is not practical, which is why we went to the telecommuting option in the first place. So I'm going to reintroduce it slowly to staff and the public without opening the doors is my plan. Unless y'all have heard some overwhelming need for someone to come in, we've pretty much generally been able to handle everything via telephone and email. And like I said, the rare instances where we had to go meet them on site.
I don't, I agree. Everything's working with town hall closed to the public. And again, the staff, everything's getting done. Maybe revisit this on June 1st, but as long as there's a need to keep town hall closed, I think we should keep it closed.
I'm comfortable with your proposal, and that's limited staff starting June 1st.
Yeah, June 1st.
Physically present.
I'd have them physically present Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, from home Thursday, Friday. I've even contemplated getting a cabana to put out front, a table and a cooler, so if we did have to meet people outside, they wouldn't have to be in the sunlight, we could be in the shade and still be separated a good distance. So I'm trying to make accommodations where it's still safe for everybody.
Councilwoman Harris, would you like to add anything?
I'm fine with that.
Councilman Borman, you have anything?
Sounds right to me. Sounds right to me.
Councilman
I'm good with it.
Councilman Phillips?
I'm good with it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. Anything else, Mr. John, or is everybody where we need to be here now, or?
That's all that's on my list.
Okay. Mr. Hiram, you got another question?
Yeah,
Administrator?
I know we've put off on the special events until June 1st. Unfortunately, I don't know if we've got an event the Sunday after, so that's 6 days. I don't know if that's enough time for them to cancel. If they've got some kind of contract with the people, it's a possibility with their band fest. And Cinda's not in here, so I don't know if they've canceled or not yet. I haven't had a chance to talk to her this morning. But there's also the markets. You know, they're asking when they can start back and everything, and theirs are supposed to be Mondays and Thursdays. So, you know, I know we've got it pushed off until June 1st right now, but under that premise, you know, the market could be starting that week, and they need to know basically if they need to tell their people not to. So if I don't know where y'all want to go with special events at this point. I don't know where the governor's going with his gathering rules. There's been no idea what he's going to release the limit to, which is why my recommendation for special events was to close them. A lot of communities have already closed out through their 4th of July events across the whole state. My recommendation is definitively, if y'all want to talk about this on the 1st, at least today, let's go ahead and say definitively either that first week or second week in June is not going to happen either, just to give these people time to at least cancel some of their obligations and not waste their money.
Anybody gonna want to start this discussion? Councilman Borman, you got anything you'd like to add or put your words in?
What was the special event, Hiram? I didn't quite understand.
The first one that we've got on this calendar is slated for Sunday, June 7th. It's Possibilities Band Fest, where they have several bands coming to the park. They see an attendance of almost 1,200, 1,300 people over the whole day. So, I mean, I know it's not going to comply with the current governor's rules. There's no way they could space every group out 6 feet away from each other in the park and still make it worth their while. But under our current regulations, I can't tell them no to this concert other than the governor's orders, and y'all haven't given me the clear step to do that. But I don't want them to have spent so much money on these bands and their contracts. If I don't know what their case in their contract is, but I would think the sooner they had an answer, the sooner they could get some of their money back, since they're doing this to raise money for their organization.
So according to phase 2, which potentially might take effect on Friday, would it allow that large a gathering of people?
Phase 2 doesn't say. Phase 2 just says, the only phase 2 I've seen so far just says lessen the restrictions. I forget how he worded it, but allow more people to gather, but it doesn't give a number. I doubt he goes over 100.
I think it's unlikely to go from.
But every one of our
50 up to 1,000.
well over 100 people.
Yeah, I don't know how that can happen, quite frankly.
So,
We need to look
Jamie?
to maybe extending that through at least the 15th. That will be 2 weeks out from the first before and then once we meet the first, if we need to adjust it from there, but just for precautionary measures to let them know up front, especially something like that. I mean, I just don't see how 1,200, even if it wasn't that many, if it was half that many, I just don't see how 600 is going to go anywhere near what our governor has put out. It just doesn't make any sense at all to be that quick. I would be super surprised if I wished it would,
yeah.
but I don't know that it will.
Yeah, I've got sort of, it's sort of in an event by event way. Number one, in terms of the band fest, with the numbers that they have and the size of it, I agree. I don't see how that could be held under any type of even relaxed attendance numbers that come out under phase two. And we really don't know, given the governor's comments yesterday, that he's actually going to take us out of phase two for this weekend. I think he probably will, but we won't know until he actually puts that out there. So I don't think the plausibility is realistic to happen probably for at least 2 weeks. The other side of it, the special events, we have 2 markets. And my understanding is they could probably relaunch fairly quickly, given the way they're organized and set up. I would think we would want first to know what the governor's restrictions are, and then second, to ask the managers of the market to explain to us what kind of control measures they would have to keep spacing and under whatever the phase two limitations are. And I think that that's something that we would be in a better position to discuss on June 1st. So my point is, don't necessarily cancel things. I don't like the idea of canceling things for the next month, 2 months, 3 months, unless we really have to do it. We have a good solid basis for making that decision. I think we have a fairly solid basis for making the decision on the possibility that it's not going to be able to fit under the phase two limitations as the governor had. I think we should wait till June 1st to address the markets. And if we make a decision on June 1st, ask them to come and explain whatever their control measures would be. And if we're happy with that, we can let them start earlier, perhaps. Do we have any other special events on request?
No, just our concert series starting the 17th, which we have to start paying for before the 1st, or right around the 1st.
I think, again, the first would be,
Okay.
Look at everything.
I don't think we should be canceling right now unless it's going to cost us money.
It's going to cost us money not to if we cancel without cause,
Well,
regardless.
Well, cause would be,
I know we've got cause for
Yeah.
the pandemic
Yeah.
reasons, but I have to pay their deposits within 2 weeks of the first concert. So their first deposit's due before the 3rd of June for the first concert.
okay, so if we make a decision on the first, we could pay them on the second if it looks like we're not going to be able to do it.
We can cancel in a second if we're not going to be
Yeah,
able to do
be
it.
able to cancel.
Yeah. Again, I say, when we find out from the governor what phase two is going to have for a limit of numbers, every one of our special events totals more than, I think 150 was our lowest at one of our concerts. So just keep that in mind in the back of your heads when we're thinking about this on the 1st. Unless he lifts gathering restrictions, I don't know a way to space out the public enough at these things, much less the bands or the vendors setting up booths next to each other, having 3 people crowded in there. So just, that's why a lot of these people have already canceled through 4th of July, is they don't have the resources the same way we do to be able to keep the crowds apart.
Yeah. Well, they have their options to cancel. I think, if anybody, when Possibility sees what it is, they might likely look to reschedule for later in the year. That would be a prudent thing to do. the markets, again, depending on how the governor discusses outdoor activities and spacing, may or may not be able to go at some point in time. We'll see.
And the reason I keep bringing that up on this one is my interpretation of his thing is it's still one event. That's what they're there for. Therefore, it doesn't matter how far apart they are. It's still that total number of people there for one thing. Which,
If I can interject real quick, I believe the Positivity event has already been rescheduled to October.
was it rescheduled October?
She's thinking about it, but she hadn't done it yet.
Our special events coordinator says she hasn't done it yet. At least she hasn't told us that she's doing that yet. She did talk to us about having their fall event also here, because they do 2 events a year. But at this point, nothing's been communicated to us.
Okay.
So my bottom line is wait till June 1st.
All right,
and discuss these
I'm just
other-
trying to advise
Go ahead,
you.
Captain. Cool. I mean, Councilman Nerd, I'm sorry.
I think we should let Plausibility know that there's no, they won't have their spring band fest. I've been to every one and I enjoyed them. Just same with the markets. I don't see any way that we're going to keep people close to a safe distance. I think a lot of people wouldn't come, some for safety reasons, some for what they wouldn't want to follow those rules. If we had them, I don't think it would help the vendors any. They have people 6 feet apart, and looking at their wares singly. Hiram, what was that date you wanted to extend it to? What?
I believe the mayor said to about the 15th. I didn't suggest a date. I mean, if I suggested a date, it'd be the rest of the year. But
Okay, don't suggest one.
yeah, I already got blasted for that one last time.
No. I think we should cancel our first concert. It's just too many people in one place at one time. I don't see the governor allowing that, not at this point in time. That's all I have.
Councilwoman Harris, do you have anything you'd like to add, or?
I agree. I don't see how it's possible to meet the requirements that certainly that we have now, and from what I've seen in phase 2, I don't believe we can meet that either.
Okay.
So
Thank you. You got anything else?
no, that's
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Boardman, Councilman Phillips, you have anything else before we finish this discussion here?
Nothing more from me.
Councilman Phillips.
I tend to agree with Mr. Corbett that we should just reassess it on June the 1st.
All right, go ahead.
Would you like me to see if I can get the at least the 2 market groups here on the 1st
I think that
to
would be a good
discuss as
idea.
well? I just got an email from one of them outlining what they plan to do
Yeah,
for their
if you could
market.
get them, if we're still in the protocol, which I'm sure we will, like we are now, they can come and we'll definitely give them a chance to talk and tell us. We'll put them on our directives at the end.
All right, and as far as the porta johns, if y'all want that information, Cindy just brought it to me.
Okay.
For the beach, because she wasn't here to talk about the park part, but it'd be about $290 a month for the ADA accessible and 2 other porta johns. For an extra $10 a month, they'd be happy to try to stock in hand sanitizer for us inside the porta johns. So that'd be $300 a month for porta johns until we're ready. So
I think that's a no-brainer. I mean, you got to do that.
That's cheaper than cleaning the bathrooms with
Exactly.
Yeah.
cleaner. So we'd add, if for the park, we'd do another ADA, that'd be another $150 a month. So you'd be looking at $450 a month total. $460 a month total.
Yeah.
if they're going to replenish the hand sanitizer, how often are they going to do that?
Weekly. They do everything weekly.
So it lasts a day or the
so-
first hour or two.
Yeah. If they're individual bottles, they're going to be gone.
They're the commercial type that you put your hand in and just bounce out. So
I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody in there emptying that.
I know.
Yeah, like the mayor said, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I said anyway, you still speaking under $500 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth that for us just in cleaning products, I'm sure. So I think that's definitely something, we've already voted to do it, and I think it's definitely something we need to go ahead.
They said they could be here by Thursday.
That'll work perfect.
That'll work
Get
good.
them in for the weekend. I think it's gonna rain about every day anyway for them. All right. So we got that. So as far as the concert series and the special event things, we need to decide if we wanna, I guess, just wait. We've already canceled them up through the whole month of this month, May. So we know we'll be we have a meeting on the 1st. We can definitely readdress it by then. Or if y'all decide different, then we can extend it out a little bit. But I think we have decided that the Paul's thing, we will reach out to them and tell them we will not be able to do that event.
All right.
And then we'll go play off ear from the next.
So basically, we're going to tell them that we're no special events at this point through the 7th, unless something changes on the 1st.
Yeah,
But go ahead and that's the first event in the month is possibility on the 7th.
yeah.
So
So right now, the 8th, according to what happens at the first meeting, right now, the 8th would be the earliest that we would even consider any town events.
yeah.
Okay. You want to go ahead and do a motion for that, or since we got it to the other, what do you think we need to do?
Yeah.
No, you don't really need to. I mean, I'm the one that has
So let's
the
say,
discretion on
we've
saying yes
got
or no
all
to
the way through the other
permit,
month
so.
anyway, so.
I'm
That's what
I'm
we'll
good
do.
with
I'll
that.
contact Possibility and see if they'd like to try to reschedule for another date.
Jamie and Tom, did y'all hear that? And Jan?
Yes.
That we- Okay, okay.
Permission with the rescheduling and everything. Permission. One of the markets had already readjusted their schedule to try to be friendly to other large special events. Can we reciprocate? And since our current rules say no more than 3 special events and large events in a week, or no more than 2 large events in a week. If Possibility does reschedule, that'd be a 3rd one in a given week, most likely.
I think we could adjust for that.
Can I get an agreement from everybody for me just to suspend that under this state of emergency? For them working with us, we can work with them.
I would agree with that.
I'm good with that.
Councilman Phillips, Councilman Borman,
Yep.
Councilman
Good
Borman.
for me.
All right.
Councilwoman Harris, you're good?
Yes.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we can reaffirm that with a motion on the 1st.
That'd be fine.
All right.
Yes, sir. All right, anything else? If not, we'll move on. All right, moving on next to our remote participation policy revisions. Mr. Marziano, this is your,
Yes, sir. Apparently, we're ahead of the curve. The state finally adopted their change in legislation after we'd already even amended our remote policy last time. So the changes in here were drafted by our attorney's office. And largely it ensures compliance with the state. We were already compliant with the state, but this gives us that flexibility of calling out those the general statutes that regulate remote policies, things like that. Under the state's policies, and not under ours, they allow any public body under the town to hold a remote meeting, including planning board, board of adjustment, things like that. So we included that language in here because we're 3 months since our last planning board meeting, Todd, at least. There are some things that business needs to continue moving on with. So the attorney asked us if they want us to include all public bodies. We said yes, so they rewrote it that way. That's just really taking out the word council from the policy for that stuff. All the things in red were basically just some language clarifications and making sure that we're compliant with the state parts.
I was comfortable with all the changes.
I'm fine.
any discussion from you, Jan?
I'm fine.
Any discussion, Jamie? Or Councilman
I'm good,
Phillips, I'm
thank you.
sorry. Councilman
Fine for
Borman,
me.
you're good?
Fine.
Okay. That being said, then we're looking for a motion to approve the Town of Sunset Beach remote participation policy and rules of procedures as amended. Do
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Corbett? Councilman
Aye.
Mayor? Councilwoman Harris?
Aye.
Councilman Phillips?
Aye.
And Councilman Borman?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, next up will be our discussion on the airboat regulations.
Thank you.
Councilman Phillips, this is your agenda item, so I'll turn it over to you, sir, to start it off.
So after the previous meeting, we reached out to Grady and he came back with some information that was provided to all of council. And again, with further discussions and people around town and this and that, I'd like to cite one of the state statutes. It's section 160A 174. It says a city may by ordinance define, prohibit, regulate, or abate acts, omissions, or conditions detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of its citizens and the peace and dignity of the city, and may define and abate nuisances. So with the airboat, you have not only the noise issue, you have the health issue where, again, it was pointed out earlier that when using this vessel, you're required to have hearing protection. Makes me wonder about all the people around this vessel on the waterway who wouldn't have hearing protection, who would potentially be in danger of having hearing issues because of it. I'm also thinking about some of the small businesses in the area that operate kayaks and things like that. I wonder about the safety of those kayakers. They do cruises in the evenings at various tide cycles where clearly in a low light situation, the vessel coming across a marsh at high water, that could be a safety concern for them. I've also had the thoughts of various charter boats and things like that are out there on the water just trying to make a living, and they're doing it and they're quiet, and they're going to have this airboat coming by that's going to disturb their clientele. So there's that, and there's quality of life issues just for people around town, as it was pointed out earlier as well. So we're trying to keep Sunset Beach from turning into a loud, boisterous area, and I think that this airboat falls into all those categories that we would try to not have. So my suggestion would be to put a ban on airboats within town limits of Sunset Beach.
Councilman Borman, you'd like to add anything?
No, I'm in agreement. As I said in the last meeting, I've had experiences with the airboat late at night coming up the feeder canal with bright lights, affecting sleep, affecting all kinds of peaceful moments here. So yeah, I'm in favor of it as well.
Councilman Nerd, do you have anything to add? Or
I think a complete ban is the right way to go. That's all.
all right, Councilwoman Harris.
I agree with the complete ban.
Okay, Councilman Corbett.
I kind of have questions about whether we really want to ban one complete category. But as I think through everything, and when I came up with my suggestions of how to control airboats, if you put everything into place that I would put in terms of restricting their operations, it wouldn't be worth having an airboat and operating it anyway. So I'd go with a complete ban.
All right. With that being said, then I'm gonna put out there to get a motion that we'll ban airboats immediately. We'll get the police chief to look in and see what needs to be done, and our administrator to reach out. But I'll be looking for a motion for that. Go ahead, sir. You need something?
What y'all really need to do is a motion to have the attorney draft
Have the
up.
attorney draft it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
an ordinance to.
Yeah. We'll need the motion then, according to our administrator, to go ahead and reach out to our attorney, get him to draft up everything that we need, and then we'll bring it back. But do I have a motion for that to send it to the attorney?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilwoman Harris?
Aye.
Councilman Corbett?
Aye.
Councilman Phillips?
Aye.
And Councilman Boardman?
Right?
Okay. Thank you. Moving on. Only new business we have is our deposition of directives. And we get to that, and we definitely, I think 6-1, we said we'd have the market people come in.
Yeah, we'll contact them to
We'll
see if
add
they'd
that
be
to
willing
it. And then we'll also be looking, when we look at our COVID stuff, it'll be about our town operations, our special events. We'll address all that. Right now, we're saying through the 7th, correct? That everything's okay, and we'll readdress that then. Anything else needs to be added by anybody?
Can we ask our Sunset at Sunset chairperson, Karen Joseph, to come in
Sure.
and give us an assessment of where they stand? And
And it's because that's a special event too. That's
Yeah.
fine. So we'll reach out to Miss Joseph. Anything else? Councilman Phillips, Councilman Borman, do you have anything that needs to be put into directives?
Not at this time.
Not now.
Councilwoman Harris?
Nothing.
Councilman Nern?
No.
Okay.
I have a question before we close
Go
this
ahead,
out.
sir.
In our budget public hearing, is that also the time, the day that we vote on the budget?
No, you cannot.
cannot.
Since you'll be having remote participation.
Yeah.
Under the state laws on the public hearing for that, you have to at least wait 24 hours to receive further public comment. And we'd always intended anybody to be adopting at the second meeting in the month.
So we'll do it at the 16th
Right.
for that meeting. And June 1st would be the time that we discuss, the one outstanding issue we have on the budget is donations to nonprofits.
Right. And some of them have reached out to us and they may be showing up to that meeting for the public hearing discussion.
On the 1st.
Right. To plead their case.
To plead their case.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll invite all of them to do so, but I've already been I've had one of them reach out to me about it.
Okay.
I will not be here on the 16th.
Are you going to attempt to do the remote, or we can do you on the phone? If you're, are you still going to be in the hospital?
That's the day after my
Okay.
surgery.
Okay. So we won't count you. We'll know you here in heart, but not here in body. Okay. With that being said, our next thing up would be our public comments. I have none that are sent in, but if we've got anybody in the back room that has it, they can come up and they'll have their 3 minutes, speak their name and their address. If you'll check administrator, we'll go from there. Thank you, sir.
Remember to state your name and your address. We have two.
Two, okay.
Mr. Mayor, Rich Serrato, 517 Twisted Oak Lane, Sunset Beach.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, I wish not to be prematurely and rudely interrupted by Mr. Nern. I wish to be treated like any other
There'll be no
citizen.
interruptions and there'll be no names, please. No specified
I
names.
wish to be treated like any other
Yes,
citizen.
yes, sir. But
Somehow I do not understand, or maybe I do know understand, why public officials are so fearful of the public records they created.
I understand that,
According
sir.
to the May 4th fiscal year 21 budget edition, the town is anticipating a reduction of only $58,000 in revenues due to the pandemic. The town's revenue projection for fiscal year 20 has already been reduced by $144,000 when compared to the recently revised estimation. Question: what is the town's financial contingency plan in the event there is a COVID-19 resurgence that many scientists have predicted, or when the town discovers a revenue shortfall in fiscal year 21? My concern is that the $58,000 revenue decrease in fiscal year 21 may not be sufficient, and that other expenses should be examined now rather than later. Simply defunding our reserves should not be the only option. Is the town prepared? Moreover, placing the sole burden on the administration when it is the mayor's and council's responsibility is unfair. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Laura Horn. My address is 7492 Prestwick Court, Southwest, Sunset Beach. I just have some concerns about the discussion you were having about the short-term rentals. I have rental properties and I use a cleaner. Her and I have discussed the new cleaning protocols and we are following behind to make sure that they are adhered to. I own a cleaning service in Raleigh, and cleaning is considered an essential business, but we do have to maintain CDC protocols in order to maintain our permits to work. And yes, a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo can be cleaned and totally disinfected in an hour. Not saying that all other companies follow that and do a good job in an hour, but it can be done. Cleaners have their hands consistently in disinfecting chemicals and are more sanitized while cleaning than most all other people. And if it cannot be transferred at a store or other businesses, I don't think a cleaner putting dishes up is any more subject to leaving the virus than store employees putting stocks on shelves or even stopping and pumping gas with gas handles that have not been disinfected. And we're not closing the gas stations down. Short-term rentals in some instances are necessary for income for a lot of owners that use that money to maintain and keep their property updated and pretty. And I think if you had checked with the cleaning services before the meetings, you would have already known what that requirement was for the essential cleaners. So we really do need to address short-term rentals continuing to be able to open on the 22nd.
Anything else, ma'am? Okay, it is open on the 22nd, ma'am. And yeah, and I don't know if you was here when we started, but we did. Everything is to go as reached out at the last meeting. And also as far as the cleaning and all, the only thing that we ask is for our town to reach out and just ask people to do what they can. Nobody will be on top of them forcing them to, but we just appreciate everybody taking the best interest of everybody coming in. And thank you for what you do.
Thank you, and I have been here since the beginning, and I didn't hear that y'all had decided that for a definite or not
Yes,
definite.
ma'am. Everything
Just
is
the
scheduled
concerns
the
on the
22nd. Yes,
cleanings.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you for
Yes,
your
ma'am.
service.
Thank you for coming out. If there's not anything else, I'm gonna reach for a motion for adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilwoman Harris, Councilman Phillips,
Aye.
and Councilman Borman.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming out today. Be safe.